guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Charity Lambert, and today I want to talk to you guys about the spring trend box that nobody got their hands on because it sold out so incredibly fast. Like nobody planned for that, nobody knew it was going to sell it that fast, but sometimes that's how these things work. When trends are trends, everybody wants to get in on them. So if you missed out, that's okay because they are going to be coming back with more. I'm told within the next 2 weeks, depending on when you watch this video. This might be old news. So this is going to be for the people that happened to get their hands on those colors, or those that are going to be previewing it and saying, do I need these or not? How would I use them? What about the fact that these colors are super duper bright and I'm over 40? Can I still wear them? Well, I'm here to say it's possible because though I'm not quite 40, I am so close on the edge that I think I qualify. And so there is a nice way to wear them. There is some great shades in here that are not incredibly terrifying, which, you know, these guys, even that one, these two can be a little like, whoa, but I'm gonna show you how to embed them so that they're not as scary as they look. So the first thing I always do, and so I did this eye first because I wasn't sure what I was gonna do. That's the truth. I sat down, I'm like, threw those colors together, and I thought to myself, what would I do with these colors if I just sat down to them? And so I did this eye just like that, and I'm gonna show you exactly what I did. The first thing is you always wanna set up your eye to whatever way you need it to be to receive the product. Now, you don't need to use concealer, you don't need to use a primer. You could just use the pigments themselves because they are very high quality, they are very intense, and they will show up. It's just that they will last a bit longer if you happen to add in a few extra layers like concealer or primer. And so for myself, I'm gonna start off with using a little bit of a primer. This is just a primer that works for my eye, and it is actually something I can't even really tell you guys about because it is something that I'm working on myself. I have a science background and I love playing with products, deconstructing them and putting them back together. And along that journey, I started learning about product chemistry just so I could better understand our product line, which is Limelife by Alcone. I've gone down the road of experimentation, and it's so interesting to me that one of the main things I wanted to develop for my eye was a primer that would fill in some of the wrinkly parts, receive the product a bit better, receive the concealer a bit better, because we all struggle as we age. Oh my God, that's like the first thing that happens. And so it's not something that I'm selling as of yet. I'm still experimenting. So I put that on. For you, you can use your primer spray or whichever primer you might have, or nothing. Okay, now I'm gonna take concealer number 3 and one of these mini blenders. It's my favorite way to set my eye up with my primer. I use, like, depending which video that you watch me in, you'll see me do different things because I'm always trying new things, mainly not because something's not good anymore, it's sometimes just because I get bored. And I'm sure that there's other people out there that are the same way, where they want to experiment in a way that they like their products, but they want to know, what else can I do with my products? Or like, what if I switch up this way or that? Is this better for me? Because sometimes, depending on the time of the year, there's certain things that are just better and work better. So we have to find out what those things are by experimentation. Okay, so the next thing is you can use your translucent powder to set that. Sometimes what I do is actually use a bit of translucent powder and our perfect color powder kind of mixed together. And it just, I don't know, it makes it kind of a little bit more silky. See how that's set up so nicely? It's like, it makes it kind of perfect looking. So the rest of the products go in really well. Okay, now this collection comes with a few brushes. There are these ones. Now, I would be lying to you if I said I used only these ones because, well, I'm a makeup artist and it's kind of impossible because I always know what brushes I want to grab, and it just kind of doesn't work out as well if I don't do what I love to do. So for people starting out, if you don't have all the brushes, do your best, play with them. There was a time when I had like 3 brushes. Just do your best with whatever. Or if maybe you already have your collection half built, I'll share with you the brushes I'm using, or maybe you want to know, where do I go next? Now you know. So the first thing is, when I'm setting up with colors like these, I change it up every time. Like, there's so many ways we can do this. It's truly endless. It's really endless. You could set up your crease first. You could set up your lid first. Like, nowadays, I think pretty much everything goes in terms of how to set up an eye, how to do it. Sometimes you go on an adventure with it and just see where you end up. And that's kind of what I did here. So, and the funny part is I actually kind of forget, but I'm just going to show you based on what I see, where I think I would have went, and we'll just go from there. So we'll start off with, this is 33. We're going to go in with that guy, and this is brush number 10. It is a little bit of a fluffier brush. It is very good for like kind of setting up diffuse colors. So I'm just going to go in and set up the outer corner a little bit. Now this is kind of a thing I need to do because my eye is hooded. So if I don't set up the outer edge, I can't see where my colors should stretch across, how high I should go up. So really it's almost like a corrective move right now. I'm trying to just really give shape to where I need it most. Everybody's eye shape is different, so your eyes might require something slightly different. That's where private makeup lessons come in handy, because you can get direction on exactly your eye shape. So you can use the same colors, but you might do things a little bit differently. Now I usually take a little bit of perfect translucent powder and just kind of add some right here, because I end up getting some fallout there. When you're using a lot of colors, that can happen. So the next thing is, I kind of have the idea of where I'm going with that. Now comes the bold and crazy. We're gonna go in with this guy here. And I know when we start going in there, you're gonna just be like, oh my God. Because it is bright, it is bright. But we rein it back in after, when we add back in some of the other colors. So you can use the brush that came with it, which is brush number 9, to do this as well. Like where you kind of just V towards your lash line like this, and then you can V kind of up, because we're really just setting up the brighter color towards the outside, because that way, when we add back in all the colors, it'll have a nice wash across your lid. It won't be so bold. If you do a bright color across your lid, it is extreme. And there's a lot of my clients especially, they're not ready for that. This is probably more than they're actually ready for. So already I'm pushing the limits, but you know what? You gotta live a little. We've been through so much with COVID. I'm thinking, like, does 40 really matter anymore? Does 50? Like, let's just live. Whatever color you want to put on your eye, you put that color on your eye. Okay, so this little guy here, this is brush number 20. It is called the Small Shadow. This guy is great for building in there. So we'll go in with the dark shade here. And you know what, maybe let's go a little bit with these two. Now, if you're setting it up like the picture, this is probably opposite because of the way my camera is, but you're just gonna go in a little bit towards the lash line. So you just kind of work it into the skin. A lot of like small manipulations like this. So I'm kind of working like this, if you can see. And then with what's left, I'm gonna bring it right to the edge there and just kind of round it off a little bit. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do, let's see here. Okay, so I did introduce 2 other shades, and they are great shades. Actually, I'll show you the other little palette. You don't have to do this, but it's just that I would do this, so that's why. And a lot of my clients have the colors because they're some of my favorite ones. So I'll show them when I do get to that point, because you're probably wondering where all the light shimmer came out of this. So we'll go in with this light pink shade here. And so you can go, you don't really have to clean off your brush too much because some of that pink is gonna mix with what you have and it's gonna start to blend everything a little bit. If we were switching from dark brown to that, it's good to swirl it off. Okay, so pull that guy in. And now this is where we're gonna do a little bit of contrasting. So this is where I kind of introduced my other palette, which looks like this. I will put the shades below. This is Sweet Dreams, Rose-Colored Glasses, in Sequence, and I think it's Good Karma is the name of that one, I believe. I'll add below if I mess that up. So I'm gonna go in with this dark one just to add a little bit to my lower lash line. Now you can do a light color before it, or you could do that on top. I kind of go back and forth. You'll see certain makeup artists do something and they're like, that's their way. And then you'll see someone else do it a different way and you're like, which way is the right way? It's really just preference in some cases. There is some color theory to things. You don't want to mix certain colors that actually cancel each other out because it'll make a muddy brown color. That's a whole other lesson, not for this. So I'm just going to add a little bit into that space right there. Okay, so we are building up, we're getting there. So now we're gonna just try and add in a little bit of the shimmer. So this is where I kind of just wipe my brush off, get it ready. And then I'm also gonna use, this is a concealer brush, so any concealer brush will work for this. I go in with a little bit of Zero Concealer. And so if you guys are Limelife customers or beauty guides, you'll know exactly which concealer that is. And I'm just gonna add a little bit here. I'm gonna carve out my lid ever so slightly, almost doing like a half moon. I like to focus going up with my eye because as eyes age, they really kind of start to look tired. This is just one way to kind of open that up. You don't want to use too much. And the thing is, when you use a concealer on your lid after you've used shadow, especially our type, you want to make sure that you add back in enough shadow to really soak up the wax. Otherwise, it will start to crease on you later. But if you spray set it at the end and you make sure you match the amount you put on with shadow, you don't really have that happen. Okay, so now I'm going to set that concealer with our light color here first. It's a bit of a matte shade. This gives us one of the layers. Then I'm gonna go in with Rose-Colored Glasses. Such a great shade. Now, if you want this to be really intense, you can wet your brush. If you're like, nope, I don't need intense, you don't have to. Put it underneath. Now, this is where you kind of have to feel it out, guys. Like, how much drama do you want? So what I tend to do is actually put on my eyeliner and then I let it declare itself. So I'm gonna do that just because then you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm trying to just put the focus out here. Sorry, I'm not really good at doing the video eyeliner talking thing. Probably noticed that in other videos. I wish I had a professional setup like some other people. I have a lot to share. I just, honestly, the editing takes a lifetime. So when I can, I do. So I've gotten out of the habit of doing crazy wings. It just really doesn't suit my eye shape. But this does. This really, like, if I stop and I just kind of very gently wing it out, it's actually on trend right now too, so it's kind of a neat little, like, I realized that before I realized it was a trend, which is really cool. Okay, so now we're gonna do the concealer brush. We're gonna wet it a little tiny bit. Just water, distilled water actually works really well for this. So I'm gonna go back in with that rose-colored glasses, but I'm going to, this is really gonna just turn it into a super metallic finish. So I want it super shiny on the inside here. It's really on trend to have like this half moon kind of shiny inner corner. So you're gonna let that dry. You wanna make sure it dries before you open your eyes, or else you're gonna get a little crease starting. Okay, so this is where the drama comes, okay? So now that I have my line there, I can see where I might wanna beef up that darkness. You can use the shade right here for that. Or if you happen to have these colors, you can use this guy. If you're like me, sometimes I use both, but I don't want to confuse anyone, so I'll just show you with the dark one here. So now I'm going to just keep building right there until I'm happy with the amount of drama in my life with my makeup. Thankfully, I don't have a lot of drama in my life. I'm just truly not a drama person. I just don't, I'm on a personal growth journey. I truly am. And anything like that just slows you down. It just really does. Sometimes you find yourself getting kind of pulled into things and you're like, you want to know the drama, but then you're like, after you know about it, you're sucked into it and you just kind of don't feel like it was worth it. So that's why I jump ahead. I'm like, oh no, don't do it. Just stay out of drama. Life is so much better. So now I'm gonna go in. You can kind of play with either of these. Like sometimes I'll say, okay, you know, I want a little bit of color transition there. So you can either choose that color. I might even do a little of those two. I wipe it on a towel just so that it's not so intense. And I'm just kind of like half mooning it. Like that. Just so you get a little tiny bit of color there. See, so you can use these bright colors and it's not that crazy. So I'm gonna, with what's on my brush, I'm just gonna pull it down a little. I think what I actually did is I used a bit of this guy again with what was left on my brush. Now I'm not pulling it right around. I don't really want all the color to really pull. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with it. This is just an inspiration video. This is not like, this is the only way. Okay, so now I think we're pretty close, give or take. I mean, I'm usually doing your makeup together, so that usually looks a little bit more cohesive. So this is where I'm gonna pop on my mascara. You make sure that you have been, especially if your environment's cold, warm up your mascara, because it just goes on so much better. I've talked about the mascara many times before, where honestly, your first week with it, you're not gonna love it. It takes a while for air to get in there and for it to thicken up a bit with the plant fibers. So the perfect mascara is in the kit as well. So what I do is I'll go in, I'll put it against my lashes and I'll start to build underneath. So I'm not pulling it all the way through the lashes. I'm really just focusing close to where the hair touches the skin. Once I'm pretty happy with the base of it, and this is something I've been kind of doing lately. Again, I always switch things up. Re-dip, and then what I do is I kind of just fan through the end. And the reason why I do it this way is so that it takes on a very tapered finish. I find if I do it the other way, the tips get a little thicker than I'd like, and I like my base to be what's kind of the thicker part. I always get mascara on my lid. The best thing you can do is let it dry, then kind of scrape it off. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the underneath. I don't pull it all the way through for me because I have longer eyelashes under there. I just touch. Basically, I just touch till I can feel it on my under eye. Always make that face. So I think that's pretty close. The last thing I would say is if you have some crazy edges, that's where a brush like number 10 comes in handy, because you can start to kind of like work those out a little bit. You just kind of fade them out like that, basically. Sometimes what happens is you kind of wear a little bit of it off, so I'm just going to go back in with this color here. Sometimes what I'll actually do is I'll add in the color before I start fanning it out, because if you're going to take off a layer, it's good to just add the layer in first, and then you can kind of fan it out. But see, you can do it afterwards too. Like the makeup, it just really works so incredibly well. You don't have to do too much of messing around with things. So, okay, so that's pretty much it for eyes. What I did on the rest of my face using the same palette, I took this guy, and then I took these two colors here, and I kind of just, I wipe it on a towel, just like one swipe, and then I used it as blush. Now the cool thing is it's going to look very much cohesive with the rest of your look, because you're using these colors that are already on your face. Now, obviously, if you're using a blue palette or something like that, you can't really use them, but when I'm doing shades on my eyes, I often, if it's like one of the colors is something I can use on my face, I often do that because I really like the look of it, especially for my skin tone. It just looks really complete. So then after that, if you want a little more pop of color, you can go in with that bright one. Swipe on the towel, it takes off the bulk of it, and then I'm just adding right there. Very gently, like I'm like that. Okay, so now that my blush is on, the last thing I did was took some of the Perfect Glow drops that's in the collection as well. I'll show you on my hand just so that you can see it. So super silvery, and you're probably like, ooh, so silver. But it goes so well with your look. You're just going to have to let go of that feeling inside that says, I can't wear the silver. So then I just kind of go over top, just like that. And then I take my finger and I kind of just fan it out like that. Now, if you do it and you're like, ooh, there's a lot of ooh going on here, because I know most people, this is pushing their limits a little bit. Go back in with the mini Blenderful and just kind of take a little bit of Perfect Translucent powder, and you can kind of tone down a little bit of that. And if you're still like, oh my God, go in and do a little, I gotta get that scratch anyway. It's a little bit swollen still, so I think that's toned down a little bit. This one wasn't, so I'll show you what it looks like when I tone it down. So you can use the Perfect Glow drops underneath your foundation and just let it kind of glow through. I did it on top because I was doing kind of a bolder look. So I wanted it to match on some level. Oh, the last thing I forgot to tell you. I did my lips with this color on the outside. So what I did is this comes with your box this month because you get it over the free shipping threshold. And so you can pop a little of that on your cheeks as well. You could have done that instead of using the, could have just added a little bit of that and then do your Perfect Glow drops. I actually really like this too. It gives you a really nice dewy highlight. But we have the glow drops to do that as well. So what I did is I added this to my lips first. I didn't want to make this video too long, right? It's already long enough. Then I went over top just with my, you can use your finger or a concealer brush like this guy here. And then I just go and I just filled it in. like that. And then I did the same thing on the top. Kelly was happy. I did a little bit of this right in the center, like that. And then when I was done, I used my dark nude lip liner. Just like that. And then I went over it with a little bit of Shine lip gloss. This comes in your kit. And I will mattify it with a little bit of translucent powder. Why would I do that, you ask? It's because I want the moisture of the lip gloss, but maybe sometimes you just don't want a shiny lip, which is actually very trendy right now. So leave it if you can handle a glossy lip. It is very pretty actually, but there's some people that don't like glosses, so I'm going to show you. That little trick. So it mattifies it, but only to like a satin. Like it's very, very subtle. So it's not matte like, but it's kind of like toned down, a bit more elegant. I just wouldn't lick your lips a whole bunch. You do have shadow on there. It is safe. They don't use like toxic stuff, so you don't have to feel like, oh my God, am I poisoned? You are gonna be safe, my friend. So, but you do have other choices in lip colors. This one actually makes a really nice one too, if you wanna go bright. I often do add a little bit of lip shadow to certain lip colors. If I feel like it needs a little extra something. I've got all kinds of colors ready to go. And you just really like, I like to teach my clients different ways of using their products, thinking outside the box, because you really have way more when you think that way. And if you love the line, you love that it's non-toxic, you don't really want to veer to buy other things because, oh, nowadays all makeup is kind of expensive and some of it shouldn't be because it's not very good. So I always try to use I leave my Limelife stuff out. I work with it all the time, finding new ways of using it so that I always feel like safe and limitless. Ideas forever. So anyways, that's it. I'm gonna stop there. I hope you liked this video. Let me know so I can know. And I will maybe come back with something else next time and we'll maybe venture into a little bit of skincare stuff because I don't often talk about that as much on YouTube. And it is one of my biggest background parts is talking about skincare. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you. We'll talk to you next time.